Hi, I'm Dan Johnson, and I'm a spiritual director. I've been practicing for about 16 years now, and I wanted to talk to you about staying in touch and what it's meant for me in my direction practice. When I was trained as a director, I learned lots of good tools, individual good questions to ask, ways of being, things to watch out for so that my stuff didn't get in the way of the directees' stories. I remember starting out always being worried that I'd have the right questions and what I would do next. But as the years went by, I found more and more I could listen better and better to what the people were saying. And that's a big part of the staying in touch, is how to listen well. Listen, first of all, through our filters, the God talk we might be looking for and hoping to hear from the directees. But then starting to listen in a way that is a way of discovering, noticing connections between the stories. Not just talk about prayer and God, but real stories from real life. And as I learned more and more to listen to folks that way, I started to really connect with them, which again is another way of listening that is a little bit deeper in this whole process of staying in touch. And then something really interesting happens. When I'm deeply connected with a directee, and together we're listening to the Spirit in that time of prayerful listening, something else happens. Every once in a while, either the directee or I will notice something very interesting, or perhaps something that seems even out of the norm, that we wouldn't normally say. And we found ways to say those and put them out on the table, and to look at them, and a directee can pick it up and run with it, or let it stay there. But there's something about receiving, after listening very carefully, receiving something from God that can be shared and people can take and work with. Maybe I could tell you a story that would explain that a little bit better. I was working with an executive from a nonprofit here in the city, and he was, at the time, in trouble. He had gotten a job and had started working and doing very well with the portion of the business that he had been given, but there was a tension growing between himself and the chief executive, as well as with the board. And we started talking, we met then and started this process of listening well and listening to what the Spirit may be saying. And unfortunately, during that time, things only got worse. In fact, it got so bad that he did end up losing his job. I remember meeting with him after that had happened at a restaurant and talking about what was going on right then in his life. And he had said how he had prayed so much, looked for what God was wanting him to do, wanting to be able to step up and be a good executive at another nonprofit, but nothing was coming together. And he was just at this really, really low point. And for whatever reason, at that moment, it just struck me how powerful it was that we had a God who wanted to meet us right there at those low points and give God's own self to us at that spot. And after we talked about that just a little bit, and I remember as that emerged in our conversation, how it just hit him, and he froze. You could read the emotion in his face, how deeply it was affecting him. A month later, he came back and he said, "Do you remember what you said to me last week?" I said, "No, I can't remember at all what I said to you last week." And then he explained it again, his memory of it, and what it had meant to him during that month, and how it was changing even the way he was approaching new opportunities, what he was open to, what he was willing to do, what he was looking for. And I think it's made a huge difference in the new position that he has as he continues to live, having received that gift of love and putting it into action in a new place. In many ways, all these pieces of listening and hearing things were like individual notes. This process of staying in touch to me is like putting those notes together into a big song. And that's part of what we're inviting you to do, is to join us here and share your stories, and together make some really interesting music, listening to God, receiving, and finding ways to express what it is we've been given. Looking forward to hearing from you. Thanks.